Orlando, except for the downtown, which I used to have, which I lost to District 5 in redistricting. So this is very, very important to me, and this is why I'm making this presentation today. It pains me to be at odds with my friends, my staff, my legal department. It pains me, but I think what I have to say today is very, very important. We start from shared goals. We all want to we've talked today all day long about shared goals. We all want a vibrant downtown, more investment, more housing, thriving businesses, historic character, and an efficient review. We all want the same things. We are not that far apart. What is the Downtown HP Overlay District? It was established in 1980, has 66 contributing buildings. It's 35 acres. The DTO study area is 509 acres, and the CRA district is 1,664 acres. Yet, they're blaming 35 acres for the problems of 1,664 acres. I don't think that's fair. This is the Legacy 9. These are the buildings that we are most likely to lose through this process, and everyone keeps saying, this is not a demolition process. Guess what? If you don't have historic preservation, you will have demolition. That's just how it works. Historic preservation stops demolition. That's what historic preservation does. And I think it's important to look at what we could potentially lose here. Bumby Hardware, 1886. The Rogers Keeney building that Ford Keeney so generously donated to us would no longer have protections from subsequent city councils. The old railway depot, 1890. These buildings have been around for a long time. The Hunt Brannon building, it's the Native Social Bar right now. The Nicholson Collier building. This is actually on the Florida Black Heritage Trail. The Slemons Department Store, which was the centerpiece of Rosie O'Grady's, and I'm channeling my friend Bob Snow today. I'm wearing one of his belt buckles, which I bought at his estate sale. The man had a huge investment in beauty, and he knew what he was doing, and he knew history mattered. The Beecham Theater, it might not look great right now, but it was our big theater in downtown. The First National Bank, it's a beautiful building, and also the Crest building. This is one that I can point to where the developer and the owner has done the right thing. Rob Yeager is committed to historic preservation. He's committed to having his buildings rented out. He has wonderful tenants, and he's a successful businessman. Maybe instead of talking about tearing everything down, we should look about what Rob's doing right. The central claim is that historic preservation regulations are severely impeding redevelopment and contributing to downtown blight. Has sufficient evidence been presented to support that conclusion? The larger the policy change, the stronger the evidence required, and we should have time to evaluate that. Many of my colleagues here today have asked, well, we're getting in tonight, have asked about this process and everything like that. I've been on this council, like I say, for 26 years, and longest serving member. I have never seen anything jammed through this quickly without any public input. It's distressing to me. The larger the policies change, the stronger the evidence should be required. We have 45 years of preservation policy. This affects an entire district, not a single project. And this is 36 months, a path to permanent destruction. This ordinance is the largest possible change. Where is the largest possible evidence? The burden of proof, the DTO action plan. What does downtown need most? DTO professionally commissioned a study of downtown as a whole to identify what works and what needs improvement to facilitate pedestrian activity and contribute to a sense of vibrancy. The downtown district, historic district, has the highest metrics. It's in the DTO plan. Why does the DTO show the downtown historic district with some of the highest metrics if it's causing blight? Again, this is from the DTO action plan. Block quality. Block quality considers the size of the block, how the uses cover the block, and how many uses are in that block. The area that we're talking about is very high. It's actually good. Why are you blaming it for the problems in downtown when the historic district is actually very good and highly rated in the DTO action plan? Connected structure measures the urban fabric's connectivity, walkability, and integrity. Downtown has a relatively well-connected street structure, particularly in the central part of the downtown core. It's good. We have good bones here. Downtown has exceptional bones, small blocks, omnipresent sidewalks of good dimension and geometry cover the downtown. Pine Street between Orange Avenue and Rosalind Avenue is the portrait of a high performer. This experience of strong bones should be an example moving forward. Again, I'm getting all this from DTO Action Plan. The same DTO that wants to destroy the historic district. What the ordinance actually changes, and y'all please, if you could just listen to me on this, this is so important to me. The current process is the property owner goes before Historic Preservation Board review. They have the right to appeal. City Council has the final decision. The proposed moratorium, the property owner goes directly to appearance review, and then they can pull a demolition permit after they show their plans. This does not protect historic buildings. Substantive historic review is replaced by lighter appearance review. Demolition review is downgraded from major to minor. I can't stress that enough. Demolishing an whole building is major, it's not minor. Has the board actually stopped redevelopment? No. 0 times has the Historic Preservation Board rejected applications from the downtown district in the past 5 years. No, 0. There have been no pre-app requests to demolish any buildings in the past 5 years. HPB has approved numerous requests for storefront redevelopment, awnings, and outdoor cafes. These are all of the projects that have been approved by the Historic Preservation Board that everybody's saying, oh, they're stopping everything. 1 South Orange approved, new glass storefront. 19 South Orange, a new cafe. 63 North Orange, a new cafe. 190 South Orange, new storefront, removing the granite base and replacing all the ground floor windows with doors. 100 now North Orange, new storefront, nano wall doors and cafe. If y'all don't know what nano walls are, they're basically glass. You can't get more modern than that, okay? But the Historic Preservation Board approved that. 130 South Orange, new overhead doors. 18 Wall Street, new awnings, balconies, storefront replacing second-story windows with doors. These are projects that have all been approved by the Historic Preservation Board. This is one that was approved. 18 Wall Street. Major certificate of appropriateness, removing the awning, adding a balcony, converting 2 windows to doorways. It was reviewed and approved. The process allows change before and after. This is the First National Bank building at 190 South Orange. They removed the ground floor windows and replaced them with doorways for a new interior layout. This is where the Walgreens was. So the board did approve significant changes to allow this adaptive reuse. And again, this slide, 61 East Pine Street, the Robinson Cocktail Room. This outdoor cafe was approved. Historic preservation minor review process is a fast-tracked way to make approvals easier. Then this photo was taken from the DTO action plan showing what's working downtown. These are some of the past approvals. City staff has said that HPB will not allow new awnings or overhangs for outdoor cafes unless they are exact copies of the originals. This is Church Street Station. None of this is original. Bob Snow created all this. HPB approved new balconies, columns, wrought iron railings, awnings, outdoor cafes, and even a bridge, none of which were there before. And I love this. I hope we keep this because I think it's cool. Like Paul said, I think it's amazing. I think we should keep these beautiful amenities. Staff claims there are no more federal tax credits or state grants. There are federal tax credits and state grants. They're both available. Staff claims the moratorium does not eliminate demolition protections. The moratorium eliminates protections. That's why I'm so passionately speaking against this today. Once a building permit has been issued, the demolition cannot be refused. Cannot be refused, y'all. Staff claims there are few cities with downtown historic districts, and only Savannah comes to mind. There are hundreds of cities in the U.S. with downtown historic districts. When I travel, I don't say, gee, where are the highest economic impact buildings in your city? I say, where are your landmarks? Don't we all do that? So how is this against economic development? And what is at stake? Orlando stands to lose significant financial incentives under a moratorium. Since 21, there have been 265 historic tax credit projects, that's in Florida overall. Total development costs over $1.5 billion, nearly $270 million in historic tax credits, and it's created nearly 24,000 jobs. 3 projects have qualified in Orlando. The Aloft Hotel, $4 million tax credit. Baptist Terrace Apartments in my district, $3.5 million tax credit. And their Lartigue building, $91,000 tax credit. Any demolished building will no longer be eligible for these tax credits. And if someone wants to apply for them, someone wants to do the right thing, we're in danger at losing all of this funding. This is an example of true adaptive reuse. The OUC becomes a loft. The property owner went through HPB review, adaptive reuse approved. The owner received a $4 million tax credit. It was adapted, not fully restored to its original design, and it still won approval. The standards are not too restrictive. And what's at stake? I am distressed at being at odds with my legal department, but I have been in touch with Tyler Smith at the Florida Department of State, and if we pass this today, we will be decertified today. We will lose grant money today. That's why I am begging for this to be deferred, okay? Since 1981 to 2016, the public and private historic preservation grants awarded in Orlando through local government grants, 17 different grants awarded, totaling $3.7 million, okay? From 2017 to 2027, public and private historic preservation grants awarded in Orlando from 8 different grants, $3.67 million. This is not the chump change that was talked about. And the projects included Kerouac House, St. Luke's Cathedral Church, Black Bottom House of Prayer. Remember, we all fought to save that. Maxie Croom's house, Plaza Live in my district is a beautiful building. They got this historic redone. The little thing at top that spins. It's beautiful. The Williams Wells house, the Wells, that was so important to the African American community. The Lou House and the Lake Ivanhoe Power Plant. These are all projects that receive state funding, and we will not be eligible for this anymore if we do this today. Again, these are these important historic buildings that I think the majority of Orlandoans, anyway, the ones that I've knocked on their door, over 15,000 of them and talked to, this is important to them. These buildings are important to them. This is preservation done right. The Crest building, I can't say enough good things about Rob Yeager because he's the only one doing it the right way. He only received $54,000 for exterior cleaning, painting, and canopy repair under a 2022 CRA grant. He has active tenants. He is going to expand the Crest building. There are Crest buildings, by the way, all over America. And the lesson here is investment and historic review are working together, not against each other. The Hearst building in Manhattan. The staff has referenced the Hearst building in Manhattan as a shining example of what downtown developers could do if the Historic Preservation Board was not in the way. It can be done in Orlando. The city of Orlando follows the exact same interior standards as New York City. The ordinance stops demolition, not development. Maybe HPB is not the problem. Maybe it's the developers. And HPB tried in Orlando. Here are the minutes from the HPB hearing. They voted to retain the facades of the McCrory's and Woolworth buildings in 2003. They ended up getting torn down. I voted against that. I think I was the only one on that one too. Okay? It's been said there are no other Florida downtown historic districts. There are 31 downtown historic districts with 9 districts in large cities in Florida, including Miami, Jacksonville, and West Palm Beach. Other national downtown historic districts: downtown Chicago, downtown Boston, downtown Los Angeles. Estimates indicate that hundreds of U.S. cities, ranging from major metropolises to mid-sized municipalities, possess overlaying historic districts directly in their downtown business centers. All right? And this is the case study on Woolworth McCrory's, all right? Council has already used this authority to approve a downtown demolition and redevelopment under the current framework. Under the current framework. We don't have to do this and lose all our state funding and our historic preservations. Okay, what happened in Woolworth McCory's? There was historic preservation review. Then there was an appeal. Council overrode the HPB. They demolished it hours later, and they redeveloped it. Okay? The current process did not block redevelopment, and the system bends when the case is made. But newer is not better, all right? The only place we had to shop in downtown was the McCrory's building because it had some cool little shops in it, all right? Now, we have the Plaza, and this is Cameron Kuhn celebrating when they tore down the buildings. The developer of the Plaza went bankrupt. The building was foreclosed on. The theaters and most of the retail spaces are vacant, and the former Court Street is now a seedy service alley. By midnight on the day it was approved, the bulldozers had begun to raise the buildings, and the developer celebrated, making way for the Plaza and Solera. Newer is not better. We invested $6 million in CRA funds to build the Plaza's movie theater. I voted for it. I voted against the demolition, but I voted for this. It opened in 2009, and now it's closed. Demolition and new construction do not guarantee success. Management does. Newer already failed to block a way with public money. Again, these are some pictures of the Plaza. Tell me how vibrant this is. Tell me how beautiful this is. Tell me why we had to lose the few storefronts that we had along Orange Avenue where I go across the street and buy a card. Tell me why that's so important that that's had to go away so we can have a closed escalator. Garbage in the garages and more empty storefronts. This is just more empty storefronts in new buildings. Mondrian and Solera, they have empty storefronts. Plaza, Solera, and 201 South Orange, all empty storefronts. 55 West, Morgan & Morgan, Regions Bank, and the Society, all empty storefronts, not in the historic district. All right, newer is not better. Society, Steelhouse, and Radius. We require first floor retail. They let it sit there vacant. Land banking is the problem, folks, not historic preservation. Who is actually restricting downtown? Some of the folks that come by today talked about the interest rates, the high cost, construction costs, crime and safety. Land banking, I feel, is the biggest problem because these folks buy these buildings and then they sit on them and they buy historic buildings and say, oh, gee, the answer is to just tear them all down. Parking is a concern and mismanagement. There is no reason why these buildings shouldn't be full. I have friends that had businesses along Church Street that were harassed and kicked out by their landlords. All right? If you won't let your tenants use the bathroom and it's a restaurant, that's a big deal. This is the kind of monkey business these folks are doing, and then they say they can't rent their spaces. All right. Council already has the final word, y'all. The HPB makes a recommendation, not final decisions. Those recommendations can be appealed. The city council already holds final authority over every project. If council already decides, why suspend preservation protections district-wide for 3 years, and why lose all that federal and state money? It makes no sense. These are the buildings that we could lose. The Tinker Building, built in 1925. The Crest Building, built in 1935. The Nicholson Collier Building, and I want to talk about that. It carries immense cultural and historical weight as a milestone for Black entrepreneurship in Central Florida. It is featured on the Florida Black Heritage Trail. My proposal today is to defer the second vote in light of this new information. Everybody in the room said, let's have more discussion. Okay, let's do that. Defer the second vote. Allow for a more thorough evaluation of historic preservation and its impacts. You've heard people say, save the facades. We're okay with redevelopment. We don't want to do that, but we can't do that if you could demolish the facades willy-nilly like this ordinance allows. Bring people together, city staff, historic preservation board, and our historic preservation officer. And if anybody goes after her, I'll be the first one to testify at her perk hearing. She was not included in this, and we have treated her badly. It's not fair. She has a master's degree in historic preservation. She's probably the most educated and knowledgeable historic preservation officer in the state of Florida, and she was left out of this process. Property owners and the public, the property owners should be included as well, absolutely. Not this rush to demolish our shared history. We all agree that the city and property owners need to do more to reactivate all of downtown. All city policies should be reviewed in a transparent method to determine their impact on redevelopment, and the city should look to other cities for successful best practices like we have on everything. The city has not shown that preservation is the cause. The city's own data shows downtown is already growing under the current framework. Let's slow down, demand the evidence, improve the process. Don't suspend it. Don't throw our historic preservation out. And I'm going to be clear about why I voted against the Church Street streetscape last week. I didn't put it together because I was having to read this all at the same time on the dais as I saw this ordinance coming through. Why would we pay for a church? I think that a streetscape makes sense supporting an historic district because it's a public benefit use. But if we're going to let Church Street be demolished, why should we be paying the freight for the developers? They should pay for their own streetscape. And, you know, y'all, it's not like I didn't try to talk to staff, okay? I always try to work with staff on these issues. But I could not, because this was not done in the right way. And I'm begging you to slow this process down. And this 30 days is not enough because if we vote on this today, we are going to immediately lose the ability to get that state funding, state and federal funding. And my problem is, why should we reward the people who don't want to do historic preservation while punishing the people that do, because that money is going to be gone, and it will be gone forever as well. Thank you.